Now, I didn't have any great expectations for this movie, and I didn't think that I would care about the characters. I didn't think that I would be interested in their plight. I didn't think that I would like the dark, grungy look that this movie has, because I'm a kind of like bright colors and fairy lights kind of girl. But you know what? This movie kind of snuck up on me a little bit, to tell you the truth. Now, this movie is taken from a series of books, which, to tell you the truth, I have not read. And the director of this movie is the one that brought us The Notebook. So we kind of know that the quality is going to be there, right? So this film talks about the broody and the rebellious tattoo artist by the name of Rule Archer. And he has this complicated romance with a girl called Shaw Landon. And she comes from a pretty well-to-do family. So already we understand that these two are two opposites. But we also know that love doesn't care about any of that. The heart wants what the heart wants. So are you ready to come with me on this step-by-step journey into the movie Marked Men? Well, you know what? If you're ready, I'm ready. You know what to do. Don't go anywhere.
When it comes to romantic movies, there's so much out there to choose. But if you follow your heart, the truth is, you can't really lose.
So we start off this movie in this really large, dark, open space area where people are getting tattoos. And our leading man, Rule Archer, he is tattooing a young lady. And when he's done, everyone is pretty much impressed. They think he's wonderful. And she says to him that he must call her if ever he gets bored. Now, one thing I have noticed in this movie is that the young ladies are pretty forward. Now, I don't have a problem with going after what you want. But the way that they seem to go about it, you don't just throw yourself at men like that. You don't just give up the goodies like that to everybody and anybody. Let them work for it a little bit. I'm just saying. Now, there seems to be 5 of them that work in this tattoo parlor, and they decide to go to have a drink at this bar, at this club called Emerald. And it's a rather dark looking club. Now, it appears that when it comes to our leading man, that the ladies, they really seem to just throw themselves at him. And while Rule is at the bar, a pretty young lady by the name of Jordan, she introduces herself to him, and apparently she knows that he's a tattoo artist, and she tells him that she's thinking about getting a tattoo done, maybe something small like a butterfly or something like that. And at this point of the movie, our leading man, Rule, he goes off on a little bit of a strop. He seems a little bit annoyed at the fact that she wants a small tattoo. And here he says something that, quite frankly, I laughed at, because it's kind of ridiculous. I'm someone, as you can probably see, that has a tattoo. I like tattoos. I have several tattoos. But here Rule tells this young lady in a really aggressive manner that there are only 4 reasons to have a tattoo. 1, to honor someone or something. 2, because it's funny. 3, because it says something about yourself that you couldn't express in any other way. And 4, because you just really like it. You don't get a tattoo because it's cute or sexy. Tattoo is art. It matters. Let me tell you something. If when I went to get a tattoo for the first time, if my tattoo artist, which is a lovely young man by the name of Ennio, he is really kind, he's patient, he makes sure that you get what you want, he makes sure that you're not going to leave his tattoo studio unhappy with your tattoo. If he was to have said that to me in that tone that Rule said it to that lady, I would have been gone. And you wouldn't have seen my feet for dust. There is no way would I even consider sitting in his chair. I mean, I'm just saying. So it just made me laugh. The way that his arrogance and the way he just scolded this young lady. It's crazy. I can't imagine any tattoo artist actually telling somebody, a potential client, something like that. It's just crazy. Now, this young lady, Jordan, she is obviously a little bit offended by Rule's attitude, but the truth is not enough, because she still sat there beside him, and then eventually she asked him if he had a girlfriend. So, like I said, she couldn't have been that offended, right? Now, the following morning, we realized that Rule and Jordan hooked up because they're in bed and they wake up. And then there's a knock on the door, and here enters our leading lady, Shaw. And without ceremony, she enters into the bedroom. And she enters with such nonchalance, with such ease, that Jordan thinks that she's Rule's girlfriend. And they say, no, we're just friends. And at that point, Rule, he gets up, butt naked, and walks toward the door. And Jordan says, oh my goodness, you're just going to stand there naked in front of this woman and she's not your girlfriend? And Rule says, she used to go out, or she used to be friends with my twin brother. It's nothing she hasn't seen before. And she actually says, I kind of like the ring. I would have liked to have seen that ring, but I guess it was not to be. Shaw reminds Rule that it's Sunday and they have somewhere to be. So Rule tells Jordan, it was nice meeting you, close the door on your way out. And she's like, are you serious? Are you serious just going to walk out on me like that? I mean, Jordan, what do you expect? But yeah, okay. She tells him that she expected more from him. Why? Why? She just met him. But anyway, he tells her that Sundays isn't his thing. And he asks her, what's your name again? I tell you. So he gets ready. He runs out into the car where Shaw is waiting for him, and Jordan runs behind him, calling him every single name under the sun. Now, the next scene is a pretty strong one, and we see a home, and the camera is panning around this home, and you can see that there is a room, and you can just tell that this bedroom has not been touched. And there is a man and a woman in separate rooms, and they are looking at pictures, family pictures, and they're looking at these twin boys. And you can tell that something has happened. There's a certain sadness in this house. So Shaw pulls up outside of Rule's family home, and we can tell straight away that there is conflict between Rule and his dad. So now they're sitting around the kitchen table, and the mother, you can tell that she's a bit off. There's something not quite right there. And she says grace, and she starts talking about how amazing this certain Remy was, and how he made everything seem so comfortable. And then out of the blue, she asks, so how long ago was the accident? And they say 3 years. And then all of a sudden, she falls out of her chair. Now everybody around the table runs to her aid except for Shaw. And he says, what is going on? Can't you not tell that she is high out of her mind? Or are we just going to pretend that nothing happened, that she's okay? The dad isn't having it. The dad is furious, and he kind of like puts hands on him and tells Rule to get out of his house. If you're enjoying this romantic movie review, and if you like this unique way to tell the story, then please consider giving this video a thumbs up. It will give me a bit of encouragement, right? And it will also push the algorithm so that other romantic movie lovers will find this video too. So go ahead and hit that like button. So Rule leaves the house and he starts walking home in the cold and the snow, and it appears that he doesn't have a jacket. Up behind him comes Shaw in her car, and she tells him to get in. Rule tells her that he thinks that his parents preferred his dead twin brother. And Shaw tells him, well, you know what? It's kind of hard to love you because as soon as anybody gets close, you run away. At a certain point, Rule tells her to pull over, and they pull over to the side of the road. And here, apparently, is where the accident with his twin brother took place. And he tells Shaw that he just was so drunk that night, he just had to call his brother to come and get him. And Shaw tries to convince him that he really shouldn't blame himself. It was an accident. You know, it was just an accident. He thanks her for coming to pick him up, but he's not going to need a ride anymore because he's not going to go back to the house anymore. Shaw gets home and she tells her roommate, which her name is Aiden, if I'm not mistaken, and she tells her about her day, how she went to pick up Rule and how he was butt naked and how he was with another woman and how she took him to the family home, but he threw one of his usual fits and it got out of hand. And her friend said, you know what? I don't know how you put up with him. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know how you do it. It's not as if you like him or anything, is it? And then there's silence. And the friend says, hold on a second. You like him. You actually like this guy. And she's like, no, I don't. Because yes, you do. You like him. And Shaw eventually confesses that yes, she does like Rule. And she starts reminiscing about the first time they met. Shaw actually, though, has a boyfriend, and apparently they're on a break because he keeps on pushing for something that she's not quite prepared. She's not ready to give him yet. And good for her. If you're not ready, you're just not ready. It doesn't matter how old you are, you do it on your timetable and not on somebody else's. That's what I always think anyway, and that's what I've always taught my daughter. Now, Shaw's roommate tries to weigh up the pros and cons of the boyfriend and Rule. Now, the boyfriend is super rich, and the mum loves him. Rule, on the other hand, is rather hot in a broody kind of way. He's sexy and unavailable in a nice way. Shaw goes on to tell her friend that he's also pierced in a rather particular place, and the friend seems to appreciate that, as do I. The tattooing colleagues, they all meet up at this club, and there they find Shaw. She's working there, and Rule is surprised. Now, Rule has a nickname for Shaw, and he calls her Casper. All his friends think that she's really hot, and they ask him, why do you call her Casper? And he tells them that he remembers the first time his brother brought her home. She was so small and so pale, like a friendly ghost. And that's where the name Casper came from. Casper the friendly ghost. At a certain point, Rule calls Shaw to one side and he tells her that she has no business working there. She comes from money. She doesn't need this job. She should be home studying And that, I must admit, I appreciate that a man is telling somebody that he likes that she should be bettering herself. That's good. That's welcoming. So he tells her, you should be home studying. But sure, she's not listening. She's not having any of it. Now, at this point, Shaw's boyfriend, Gabe, he turns up. And he's a rather good-looking young man, even though you can see that there's something a bit off about him. But, he's good-looking, he's cute. And he tells her that, he had to come to see her because he doesn't know why they're on a break. He didn't know what he did, and it's driving him crazy. Now, Rule sees them talking, and he doesn't like it one little bit. And he goes up to them with some stupid pretense, and wouldn't you know, they start to fight. And then the whole bar starts fighting. The tattooing colleagues, they're out on a job, and they're painting graffiti on the walls. And the youngest of the tattoo artists, by the name of Jasper, he's on a hoist somewhere on a high building. And Rule says to him to get down because it's a two-man job and it's way too dangerous for him to be out there on his own. So, get your ass back down to earth. As Rule steps back and admires his handiwork, he has flashbacks about his brother's accident. Shaw's mother calls her up and tells her that she heard from Gabe. And the mother makes it quite plain. She says, you know what? I've been poor and I've been rich. And guess what? Rich is better. And she tells Shaw that she needs to marry someone rich. Shaw is out celebrating her birthday. And her friend Aiden hooks up with a friend. Rule tells Shaw that he will take her home. But she says, no, it's her birthday. She's good. She's going to stay. So he says, okay, he's leaving. But seeing him leave, Shaw changes her mind and says, okay, you know what? Wait, I'll come with you. She tells her friend Aiden, and her friend Aiden is happy for her, and she gives her a condom. Well, I guess you never know, right? Better to be prepared. Shaw and Rule walk home, and Shaw is acting kind of strange. She's trying to catch a snowflake in her mouth, and Rule says to her, what's wrong with you? Stop acting so weird. Then Rule goes on to show Shaw what he and his brother, his twin brother, used to do when they were younger. And that is that when there was like a patch of snow, they would take a run and then slide across that patch of snow. Shaw said, of course, well, she wants to try it, and Rule does his best to stop her. He doesn't want her to do it because he's afraid that she might hurt herself. But she's in that mood now. She ain't listening to nothing that he's saying. She takes a little run. She runs up. She slides, and of course, she falls right on her backside. And Rule comes running to her aid. He runs to help her, and he is so worried that she might have hurt herself. Now Rule, he takes Shaw to his house because he wants to go and get his car keys, I imagine, so that he can drive her home. But once inside his house, Shaw starts acting up, and she starts provoking him a little bit. And she starts telling him how she wants to get a tattoo, maybe here, maybe there, maybe on her thigh. And she lifts up her skirt. And Rule tries his best to resist. He doesn't want to go there. He wants to be respectful. But you know what? Shaw is looking good. He really is trying to resist. At this point, though, Shaw undresses and he tells her to stop. He's going to take her home. Shaw then tells him that she has loved him since the first time she met him, and she has loved him ever since. She is not pretending anymore. She wants him to be her first. She then goes on to tell him that if he doesn't feel the same way, then she will stop. They don't stop. Now the next morning, I think Shaw is probably embarrassed by her actions, and she tries to sneak out of Rule's apartment. But as she sneaks out of his room, in the open area, there is Rule's brother and friend, and they are so shocked to see her coming out of Rule's bedroom, especially as she's in her underwear. And she says to them, I know this must be weird to see me here, right? And the friend says, no, pancake and sushi is weird. This is mind-blowing. She leaves. Rule comes out of his room, and the guys outside, they try to question him. But he is not answering anything. He says nothing. He says nothing. When Shaw gets home, she tells her friend Aidan about the night she spent with Rule, and she tells her that he was lovely, he was sweet and gentle, and he was everything that she imagined him to be. But then it struck midnight, and she realized that she was just another one of his conquests, and she didn't want to be that. And she's not stupid enough to think that they would be together and live happily ever after. Shaw confesses to Aidan that she told Rule that she loved him. And the both of them went through a moment of cringe. It's like, you did you? Oh my goodness, please. Why did you do something like that? It was just cringe for the both of them. And Aidan, her roommate, scolds her for telling Rule that she loved him. In the meantime, Rule is in his tattoo studio and he's tattooing a pretty young lady. And from what we understand, she too lost a brother. And they were there talking, and Rule tells her that he has this girl in his head and he cannot get her out of his mind. And this girl who is tattooing says to him, you know what? If you really like her, you need to go for it. Because, life is too short. Rule goes over to Shaw's place and he tells her that he thinks they made a mistake. And he doesn't want things to be weird between them. She asks him, well, if you saw me with somebody else, would it bother you? And he said, yes, it would. So at the end, they decide to be together, but not to give what they are a label. To keep things light, and they end up in bed together again. Now Rule and Shaw, they're an item, they're going out, they're having fun together, and they enjoy lots of adult time together. They have a good, healthy relationship. A pretty young lady comes into the tattoo shop, and she says to him that she doesn't care, doesn't give a damn about a tattoo. All she wants is for him to take her upstairs and to do whatever it is that he wants to do with her. Rule says thank you, but no thank you. Let's give it a rain check. Now Rule's friend, they think he's crazy for turning it down. And you see how friends can be sometimes? I tell you. But you know what, Rule? He sticks to the rain check. And good for him. While Shaw and Rule are in bed, Shaw's mother calls and reminds her that on Saturday there's a black tie party. Shaw invites Rule to this black tie event, and Rule, he doesn't want to go to no fancy party. And he also tells her that he's already made a promise with somebody else that he would go and see them. But, Shaw insists, and Rule gives in. At the party, Shaw's mother is not happy to see Rule, and she tells Shaw that Gabe is there and that they are going on a holiday, and when they get back, Gabe is going to propose to her and she is going to say yes. But Shaw says no, she's not going to accept his proposal. And her mother reminds her that Gabe is about to inherit $500 million, which is a healthy chunk of change, I must say, and that Shaw is not special enough to keep making bad choices. Gabe definitely isn't happy to see Shaw there with Rule. On the way home, Rule gets a phone call that something has happened to one of his colleagues. And he's really annoyed because he's thinking, here I am at this stupid black tie event with people probably who don't even want me to be there. I could have been there with my friends having a good time, and maybe if I was there, the accident wouldn't have happened. Rule starts blaming himself for the accident, and he tells Shaw that it's his fault because he shouldn't have been there with her. He has given up everything to be with her, while she has given up nothing. He thinks that they should take a break. Okay, Russ. Shaw is so annoyed, she gets out of the car in the middle of the highway and she walks home. At the hospital, Rule sends Shaw a message saying that he's sorry, he didn't mean what he said, but Jasper's accident just brought back memories of his brother's accident. He goes on to tell her that he's not in a good place right now, so it's best if he stays alone. And he goes on to say that he really wants the best for her and he wants her to be happy. And if being happy means being without him, then that's what he wants for her. The blonde from before, who wanted to be with Rule, she finds out that he has broken up with Shaw. And what does she do? She runs to Rule, and Rule and her get together. Someone, of course, tells Shaw. And Shaw, when she finds out, what does she do? She runs straight back to Gabe. Oh, please. She runs straight back to Gabe because, of course, it's impossible to be on your own for a while, right? Crying out loud. These people are too much. While Shaw and Gabe are out and about, and Gabe goes off for a minute, Rule sees her and he goes up to her. And she tells him that she knows exactly what he did when they were on a break. Okay, Rachel. And she tells him that he shouldn't call her Casper anymore. That's done. That's over with. That's it. That's no more. And then she walks off. At home with Gabe, Shaw goes into the bathroom and makes a phone call to Rule. And she's trying to whisper, but Gabe can hear her from the next room. And Shaw is saying that if Rule ever wants to talk, she's there and that she'll always be there for him. When she comes out, of course, Gabe confronts her and Shaw wants to go home. Now, Gabe, he feels like he's a mug. He feels like he's been played for a fool by Shaw. And he's not happy. And as horrible as Gabe is, I don't really blame him. How can you be sneaking up into the bathroom and whispering to another man? I mean, of course he's going to be annoyed, right? And then the unthinkable happens. Gabe hits her. Not good, Gabe. Not good at all. You don't put your hands on a woman like that. No, 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 no. Shaw leaves. Gabe follows her. And he tries to justify the fact that he hit her. And he says, you know what? You're there talking to another man. I mean, she tells him, that they were never supposed to be together. And he tells her, look, it's more your loss than it is mine. You're the one losing out, not me. And guess what? No matter what happens from now on, don't come crawling back. Don't come crawling back. It's over. We're done. Rule, he's with the blonde girl, and he hears Shaw's message. And as soon as he hears that message, he tells the blonde girl to go. Yeah, Blondie, kick rocks. I didn't like her anyway. He goes to Shaw's house and he sees her with a black eye. He is furious and he leaves. And we know where he's going. He runs off to find Gabe. Now he finds Gabe and he tries to fight him, but unfortunately, he is totally outclassed by Gabe. Poor Rule, he couldn't even get a punch in. But I appreciate the effort though, right? He tried to protect somebody who he cared about. I applaud you, but it didn't actually go his way. He was almost beaten to a pulp by Gabe. Outside, Rule's older brother is waiting for him, and Rule tells him that Gabe hit Casper. And when the older brother heard that, it wasn't going to go down like that. It wasn't going to end like that. He went and found Gabe. And what poor Rule couldn't do, his older brother sorted it out. He gave Gabe what's what, and he told Gabe, you don't hit women. Those kind of things, they come back to haunt you. And with that, he messes up Gabe good. Yay! While sitting outside with his brother, Rule tells him that he loves Shaw. And his brother says, well, if that's the case, if you really do, you've got to show her. Show her that you love her. Now Rule does a memorial for Shaw with her face and everything. You know, it's very kind of pretty. And he sends her a message. And in that message he says that if she's looking for a sign for how he feels, all she has to do is look up. Now, Shaw is in a car, she's driving, and it just so happens that she's driving in the right spot at the right time, at the right moment, and she looks up and she sees the memorial that Rule had done for her. I mean, okay. Lucky she was there in that right moment, huh? We'll just skip over that bit because it's kind of cute, so we'll just forget that bit. Rule goes over to Shaw's house and he apologizes, and she's just sitting there listening to him, and he apologizes and said that he sabotaged everything because he wasn't ready. And he knew that being on a break didn't mean that he could get to do whatever he wanted to do. And he also knew that she would never have treated him like that. He said that he was too scared to feel, to commit, to give up his life like that. He said that he's still scared, but he has to change. He said that he sucks when it comes to talking about his feelings, and anything too hard to deal with, he just usually runs away. But he doesn't want to run this time. Now he's ready, not just ready to try, but ready to do it all. Now he wants to make some promises. He doesn't want to go back to his old ways. He just wants her. And this is where we come to the best line in the movie. Okay, I'm ready. Rule says, I'm not a millionaire. I don't have a lot to give you, but I want to give you my heart. It's not much, but it's all I have. My heart is yours, and if you try to give it back, I'm not going to take it. On the notes of time after time, he gives her a snowflake tattoo. And a year later, they move all of Shaw's things into Rule's bachelor pad. The end of movie. Now for sure this movie is for the younger demographic, but when it comes to love, I mean there's no age, right? And although it is a movie, there is so much that we can learn from films like Marked Men. And one of the life lessons that this film teaches us is that some romances, they're not fairy tale smooth. It's about navigating past trauma and embracing the imperfect and accepting someone for who they really are, scars and all. Another lesson that we can learn from Marked Men is that grief can often impact our capacity to love. Rule's inability to commit was somewhat like tied to his unresolved grief. We have to acknowledge and work through our grief rather than just avoid it. That is if we want to grow emotionally. It's okay to carry your past, but it shouldn't define your future. Shaw's quiet strength strips away at Rule's defenses. So it's not about trying to change someone, but it's about being there for them as they try to navigate their challenges. Some of the most meaningful connections require patience, understanding, and courage to stay, even when it's difficult. Now, one of the pros in this film is the fact that Chase Stokes and Sydney Taylor, their characters can be really annoying at times, but they have so much chemistry that you can't help but root for them. I mean, they look good together, they work well together, you can feel their emotions when they're together on screen. So definitely these two have a great fit. Another pro of this film is that despite all of Rule's flaws, the fact that he's so broody and he's so rebellious and he's a challenging character, but despite of all of that, you can't help but like him. You can't help but root for him, especially as you know that a lot of his suffering is coming from a place of pain because of his brother and his twin brother at that. So yes, it's definitely a pro, the fact that we do kind of feel it for the leading man. Another pro of this movie is the fact of its look, its grungy, dark look. I, for one, didn't think that I would appreciate it, but I kind of do. There's something, there's something about it that's kind of appealing. I liked it quite a bit. So yes, definitely a thumbs up from me when it comes to the overall look of the movie. Now, a con for me is that I would have liked to have known more about Remy, the twin brother. I would have liked to have known more the accident, what happened and the aftermath of the accident. Not much, but just a little bit more than what we actually had. I think it was just a little bit too understated for me personally. Now, another con of this movie for me is the steamy scenes. For one, I don't think there was enough of them, and those that were there were just a little bit weak. I mean, I was expecting more on the lines of the passion flicks kind of steamy scenes, but these had all the potential to be great, but they were in effect not really that much more than a Hallmark movie. And we all know that Hallmark movie, there's none. So yeah, I mean, For me, a little bit more steam would have gone a long way. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you think too that there wasn't enough steamy bits? Leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. So, if you like your romance movies to have a little bit of suffering and a little bit of tension, then this is the movie for you. Is it worth picking up the remote control for? I would say absolutely yes. It's enjoyable. I mean, there's some silly bits, there's some ridiculous bits, there's some not so steamy bits. But overall, it's an enjoyable movie and it's a good watch. Now, as we close this review, there is an Italian phrase which I think really sums up this film, Marked Men. And this phrase is: Il cuore ha le sue ragioni che la ragione non conosce. The heart has its reasons that reason doesn't know. Rule and Shaw's heart, despite all past traumas, found their own undeniable reason to connect and love. It's a testament, really, to the powerful, often inexplicable pull of the human heart. If you're still here with me, thank you so much for keeping me company. I appreciate it so much that you don't even know. And I look forward to seeing you again soon, real soon. But until then, be kind to yourself, okay? Until the next time. Ciao.